Oh yeah, time to piss off everybody because their favorite album didn't place high enough on someone's best of the year list. But these things are always good fun, and I got plenty of albums on my top list that I'm sure many of you love, and many more that you should probably take a closer look at, and find a hidden gem you may have missed earlier in the year. This is my top 20 metal albums of 2021. Happy holidays, metalheads. It's that most wonderful time of the year where we tell each other our favorite records of the past 12 months and fight over why you're wrong and why you're stupid and your opinion is trash. But I put in the work to make a video about my favorites and put it on the internet, so my opinion means more. Jokes aside, a little disclaimer. I'm just one guy, and these are just my opinions. There's probably a lot of quality records that I didn't get around to listening to that could have made the list, and if I didn't include yours or didn't place it high enough to your liking, don't get overly butthurt about it. But do tell me what your favorites were down in the comments. And as always, before we get to the main 20 on the list, let's go over some honorable mentions, or snubs, depending on where your opinion lies. I went back and forth over this one a lot, and it pains me to say Cannibal Corpse didn't make the list. Violence Unimagined is quality death metal. Love the thrashier direction they took with this one. And it's one of my favorite Corpse records in a while, but it just missed the top 20. Likely would have made it if I extended the list to 25. Whitechapel also missed the list. They've grown a lot, and their last record, The Valley, was my top album of 2019. And this record is strong with some of the best tracks of their career in my opinion, but got a little slow with the softer songs on the latter half of the record, making a chunk of the album feel a little bit repetitive. This one might hurt my metal cred a bit, but Iron Maiden missed the cut as well. Senjutsu has its moments, but most of the songs feel bloated and a tad too repetitive, especially for an album this long. Ice Nine Kills. I respect their aesthetics and the music is good for what it's going for, but it's still just scene core to me, not exactly my cup of tea. And finally, Ginger has disappointed me 2 albums in a row now with Wallflowers. I've gone from heralding them as the next top bill metal band to seeing them become kind of mediocre. Wallflowers is an improvement over their previous Macro record, but their music still seems to favor displays of technical skill over songwriting strength. Their early records had that balance, but their recent ones are lacking. Hoping they get back on that track, but considering that their popularity is still growing with these 2 newest records, it might be unlikely. Alright, enough trashing stuff. Time to get on with the good. To make sure this video isn't overly long, I'm going to run through numbers 20 through 11 lightning round style, and get more in depth with the top 10. Also, some albums you may think I missed might be put on my top 20 rock albums list. Bands like Every Time I Die and Architects, for example, will be found there, as well as other albums from this year that lean towards a more rock vibe. Understood? Great. Here we go! Blackened post-rock? Post-hardcore? I don't know, this band is hard to describe, but the music is equal parts intense, atmospheric, and beautiful. Not something for easy daily listening, but if you want a heavy album that vibes, this record is for you. '20 2021 saw a number of quality death metal debut records, and this was one of the best ones. While bearing a strong resemblance in sound to the Black Dahlia murder, Summoning the Lich is their own beast, coming at you with a flurry of some of the strongest riffs on a death metal record I've heard in a while. Speaking of death metal debuts, the hard-to-pronounce Sanguisugabog bring Caveman Slam to a new level with some of the catchiest riffs and creatively titled songs the genre has produced, with family-friendly cuts like Dragged by a Truck, Gored in the Chest, and my personal favorite, Dead As Shit. The titles are so dumb, I love it. The band called this an EP, but it's 38 minutes. It's a damn album. I don't care if there's only 5 songs on it. Regardless of that, Cult of Luna continues to bring the esoteric atmosphere and doomy heaviness only they can provide on this record, taking you on a journey that makes you feel like you're on an ayahuasca trip. A must listen if you're fond of post-metal artsy heaviness.
1,000 silent voices have been screaming in my mind this night again. I am trying to decipher the illusion, so we'll finally ascend.
My personal favorite symphonic metal band, Epica continues to be, well, epic, with new record Omega. The balance of heavy riffs and orchestral grandness with Simone Simon's beautiful voice never fails, and it's still the best gateway into the genre for fans who usually prefer the metal a little bit more brutal. With a sludgy, post-metal edge to their experimental hardcore, Zao make a darkly heavy record with little in the way of filler, and a lot in the way of atmosphere. A deathcore record that balances the raw aggression of the genre's early albums, while having the maturity to not inundate tracks with riff salad, and keep songs memorable and catchy. Continuing to be the dream theater for the metalcore generation, Between the Buried and Me's Colors 2 continue to entrance listeners with progressive metal insanity, and despite an 80-minute runtime, keeps your attention all the way through. Flexing a brand of modern melodic progressive metal infused with dashes of electronica and djent, Vola's Witness continues the band's rep of being one of heavy music's most interesting acts, appealing to prog snobs of both the classic 70s and 80s variety and modern bedroom genty boy producers. Despite yet another large gap between albums, the British metal veterans haven't lost any of their luster, with their latest continuing their distinctive style of being one of the most unique bands to fall under the melodic death metal moniker. Taking more from classic hard rock than Maiden-esque metal, Torn Arteries provides 10 bangers that continue the Carcass legacy. Woo, there's a lot of records to talk about. Still with me? Good. Now we're at the top 10. Things only keep getting better from here, with just as much variety. So starting with an album that hasn't gotten near enough attention. Number 10. You ever get that feeling after hearing a minute or two of a fresh album that you know you're going to love the whole thing? Well, that's the feeling I got from hearing Alluvial's sophomore record, Sarcoma. The band was founded by guitar wizard Wes Hauck, who's been in much praise acts like The Faceless and Black Crown Initiate, and features Kevin Muller on vocals, who performed live at Suffocation for a number of years. Sarcoma features a technical, progressive death metal style that fully displays the musical talents of its members, while always putting quality song arrangement at the forefront. They even show a capacity for big, hooky melody on top track 40 Stories, somewhat similar to a more death metal leaning Mastodon on that track. Definitely a band to watch. Number 9. What happens when you mix symphonic black metal with a giant history nerd boner for World War I? You get Ukraine's 1914, that's what. Her latest record, Where Fear and Weapons Meet, gives proper atmosphere for the songs of trench warfare, gas attacks, and shell shock. Well-crafted, mostly mid-tempo black metal with dashes of death doom and powerful horn sections convey the grandness of the First World War. And their period-appropriate interlude tracks and samples also add to the atmosphere of the time period they go for, making this the most creative-sounding and favorite black metal record of the year for me. Number 8. An unsurprising pick for the top 10, Gojira has been a critical darling their whole career, but broke through to the top of metal's most popular acts with previous album Magma. While many fans may criticize their increasing embrace of melody with this new album, it's still as strong as many of their past works. Born for One Thing is undeniably excellent. The experimentation and tribal vibe of Amazonia sticks with you the more you listen to it, and the soothing atmosphere of tracks like Another World, The Chant, and The Trials show the strong grasp the band has on writing melodic tracks, showing that Gojira doesn't just write great riffs, but great songs. Number 7. Usually if a band is hard to easily define, 9 times out of 10 they tend to be pretty great. And that's the case with The Lion's Daughter on latest album Skin Show. Using sludge metal as a base, they experiment with their music heavily, providing melody in the form of gothic and horror-tinged synthesizers, but never lose a sense of aggression with the vocals delivered exclusively in meaty screams and freaking marches into high tempos. Even on their more mellow tracks, they never lose a sense of lurking creepiness in their atmosphere, making this possibly the heaviest album you'll hear that utilizes this much synth. Number 6. Nu metal is back with a new coat of paint, and is found everywhere on Slaughter to Prevail's Kostalam. Evolving their sound to have a stronger sense of fun, groove, and catchiness was the right move for Slaughter to Prevail. While their previous record Misery Sermon did the dark, blackened deathcore sound well, Kostalam shows a lot more diversity and personality, able to go beat down heavy or fun, upbeat nu metalcore at the drop of a hat, and take full advantage of frontman Alex Terrible's vocal talents and charisma. The new direction has been paying dividends with their popularity reaching new heights with the release of this record, and deservedly so. Number 5. While a lot of technical death metal gets a little ridiculous with speed and riff salad, Archspire has been setting the modern benchmark for the genre, while still remaining plenty ridiculous. A new album, Bleed the Future, the band add a dash of deathcore to their sound despite their ethos of stay tech, while continuing to write riffs that are memorable while blazing past you at light speed. The extra time they had working on the record over the pandemic allowed an extra layer of polish to make for a tight, 8-song, 32-minute banger of a record with no filler, and all killer. Number 4. More atmosphere, more melody, more saxophone on Rivers of Nile's The Work. Already known as a creative standout in progressive death metal, The Work takes the band even further into melodic territory, with tracks like Focus, Clean, and Maybe One Day, providing a lot more diversity to this album than they've been able to show in the past, but they do still bring plenty of heavy on songs like Dreaming Black Clockwork and more, a bold step in the new directions that don't even show a hint of growing pains. Number 3. Either you've been happily jamming this record all year, or you're sick to death of hearing about it, and that's Eternal Blue by Spiritbox. The hype this band has been getting is immense, but it's well deserved. While the style of post-hardcore and metalcore isn't groundbreaking per se, it's executed better than damn near everyone else. The guitar work is plenty genty, but doesn't overly put a focus on showing technical skill, serving the song before serving guitar nerds fapping over fancy riff work. And Courtney LaPlante outsings most other vocalists in the genre, not because she's a woman doing cells, but because her melodic ability allows the band to have more tools in the shed than most in their songcraft.
For singing, and then some screaming, and then some singing and more screaming.
And her vocal register is ironically lower than the higher, whinier tones of her majority male peers in the genre, which has a more universal appeal among music fans. There are also still plenty of heavy on this record, and songs like Yellow Jacket, Silk and the Strings, and their breakthrough hit they made their name on, Holy Roller. Yet despite how good this record is, it's not even my top metalcore album of the year. Number 2. My number 2 album of the year, and also favorite metalcore record of the year, doesn't come from our neighbors to the north, Canada's Spiritbox, but from across the pond in Britain, with Employed the Serves record Conquering. This record is goddamn phenomenal. Okay, I'll stop at the accent. While undoubtedly a metalcore record, it blends heavy metal and hardcore punk in a way that's both familiar and fresh. The band has name-dropped groove and thrash metal acts like Machine Head, Testament, and Exodus when writing for this album, and that can be heard with the riffing styles used on this record, echoing death metal and thrash, as well as anthemic melodic portions on tracks like Universal Chokehold and Mark of the Grave. The band keeps their hardcore edge, keeping things moshy on every track, with the brashness that you really only find in hardcore, without the need to rely on big, canned breakdowns to make you want to hit the pit. It's got the quality, creativity, and ability to appeal to traditional metalheads like early 2000s melodic metalcore had, but without the formulaic scream the verse, sing the chorus songwriting, and stays heavy and aggressive enough to appeal to the stage diving, karate pitting hardcore kids. This album is can't miss and deserves way more attention than what it's gotten. Number 1. So what's the top record of the year on my list? Well, it excels at every measure I judge a quality album by. No weak tracks?
Check.
Unique sound?
Check.
Numerous memorable songs throughout the record?
Check.
Diversity among those tracks?
Check.
This is about as near perfect of an album I've heard all year, and it took the songwriters across 3 different bands coming together to pull it off. And that's Blood Moon 1 from Converge, Chelsea Wolfe, and Caven's Stephen Brodsky. While Chelsea Wolfe's influence is strongly felt on this record, with it being mostly of the doom and gothic metal variety, the influences of Converge and Brodsky make this a wholly unique beast. I have a video going into deeper detail on this record, but to sum things up, you have a variety of atmospheric tracks that bring both the heavy and the beautifully artsy. Crushing Walls of Sound, an opening title track, and Viscera of Men. Upbeat stoner rock numbers in tracks like Tongues Playing Dead and Lord of Liars, and tracks venturing into both southern gothic folk and gothic metal with Daimon, Scorpion Sting, and Coil. Their creativity on display here is impressive, and like other Album of the Year picks I've made, is a record I believe pushes its genre forward, or at the very least is an exemplary example of what other albums of the genre should strive to be. And that's my top 20 metal albums of the year 2021. Go check out my top rock albums of 2021 video to discover some more great records once that comes out. And let me know what your favorite albums of the year were down in the comments. And as always, remember to like the video and subscribe to the Heavy Haystack to see more videos similar to this one. Peace, love, music, and I'll see y'all next time.